at the centre.
I'm Linda Buchan from King's Inverness Church. You are listening to Gospel for Grampian Community Radio for North East Scotland. Engaging, equipping, enabling communities to live life to the full with Christ Jesus at the centre.
Okay, enough is enough. And I'm very, very pleased to say that we have Bryn Haworth on the phone. Hello, Bryn, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Rob, I'm fine.
Great to have you on at long last. Now then, welcome, first of all, to the Community Elements show, Bryn.
Yeah.
Now, let's just say you are a legendary singer and slide guitarist. There's much more to say about you than just being a great musician. Hopefully, listeners, we can explore some of that this afternoon. Now, Bryn has written and performed a song, Enough is Enough, to protest against the loss of woodland close to where he lives, and also to highlight the loss of woodlands and forests throughout the UK and the world as well. When, Bryn, did you first start your singing career?
Well, I think the first time I actually sung on a record was back in 67, 68, and I was in a band called Fleur de Lis, and then after that I started doing my own solo records in 74. So really, the first recorded vocal was in 67, around about that time.
Well, and since then you've actually got 20 albums and over 20 albums and numerous media engagements under your belt. How many albums is that now?
Well, I mean, I haven't really counted, but hopefully I'll keep going and make some more.
Yeah, well, we'll hopefully come to the subject of your faith a little bit later on. Would it be fair to say that Enough is Enough is perhaps a departure of the subject matter?
Yeah, well, it's the first song I've written about trees, really, but about that particular subject. I wrote some stuff over the years, basically kind of protest songs about this and that, but no, this is the first one about trees.
Okay, was it your intention to write this song objectively?
Well, I think it's objective and subjective. It's both. So because I've always loved trees and nature and all these and everything that goes on on creation, but I think when it comes close to home, like the reason I wrote this song was because we have some really quite, it's like over 250-year-old woods around the back of our house, and with some really mature trees, larch beech. We have a 300-year-old beech tree, an oak tree, Scots pines, Austrian pines, just very mature, tall trees. A developer put his plans in to chop them down, basically, and to build some new townhouses around the back. And so when it comes that close to you and you realize that you're going to lose these precious trees, you start to get involved. I think that's the thing. When something gets personally close to you, you start to be active. And that's why I wrote that.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of these trees, certainly the oak trees and willow trees and birch trees, they're really native trees, and those species have been around since the last ice age.
Yeah, they're beautiful things. I mean, massive. But like I say, we've got one 300-year-old one. It's massive, huge. But it's just going to get wiped down. That's the thing.
Okay. Now, how has your faith impacted the writing of Enough is Enough?
Well, I think my faith. I was reading a wonderful quote by a scientist, and he basically said the top three environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and a cultural transformation. And I think that's basically it. Human nature. We are selfish. We are greedy. We are apathetic about things, and so I would say my faith came into that song because the whole thing of recognizing my own nature in this whole thing of always wanting more. You know, we're never satisfied, and so the chorus of the song echoes that thing about human nature, and that we do need to be changed. We need to be what Jesus called born again, born of the Spirit, and just to let God start to show you different ways to live, a new way of living, new way of loving, a new way of being loved.
How has the vision My Tree Matters developed as a result of the song?
Well, the song was a spontaneous thing, and then the video came straight after. A friend really got involved in, and then we thought, well, we need to have some kind of website for this for people if they want to get involved in looking after their trees in their local area, as well as anywhere else in the world. And so we thought if we just get a website together. Then we can put some useful information about different organizations that can help you look after your trees locally or wherever you are, in the country, or I think that was the reason behind it.
Mm-hmm. What has been the reaction both locally and nationally as a result of the song and indeed your grassroots work with, I believe, a fairly small team, really?
Yeah, well, it's just really my wife and I and nieces and family. It's like on the video. Poppy, my niece's 5-year-old girl, we got her involved. But the team, as it were, so far it's been family and the friend who. But we all care. And the interesting thing, my niece is a teacher, and she basically took her children out and used the video as a class and took it as a school project and taken the class out into local woods. Each one drew a picture of a tree, and then they came back and had a discussion about why trees are important. So it's really nice to know that the schools are getting, inspired by the video. But I think it's very hard we've had a few local plays on the local radio stations, but actually getting local newspapers is been quite difficult. And I think it's a difficult subject for some people because there's this tension between developers especially want to build their houses. I mean, again, we don't mind houses. It's just that these are really expensive houses, and we need affordable houses, not more expensive ones which they can't sell. Mm-hmm. So it's been hard to get plays, and we've sent a lot of letters out and contacted people, but for some reason it's really hard to get through and get more interest. But then you've got these groups like environmental groups that are protesting now. But I think we're more focused on particularly on trees, because you can do something about that in your local area. You can look out. Watch out for your trees in your garden, on your street, in your park, in your woods, and care for them, report damage, work together with neighbors to protect your local environment. And for us, it's been a wonderful way of getting to know neighbors and developing a strong sense of community, because, we've got to know more of the neighbors around our street than ever before. People have meetings in our house and started a litter picking group once a month, just to get just taking care of the planet that God has given us.
What about working with the local authorities and such like?
Yeah, so far they've turned down the developer who wanted to do this, but it's gone again to Bristol as they do. They appealed, and so the council have been helpful, but I think you need to keep on council members just to make your presence known and go to council meetings. That's what we did.
Mm-hmm. So keep on going. And what about social media?
Yeah, that's good, but there's so much out there. It's nice if you have something like a video like we've got now, that people can follow on if they want to get involved and just in their local area with My Tree Matters as well. So there's lots of information there to help you get involved.
What do you see as the future for My Tree Matters? Just keep on keeping on? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it's always going to be an issue. It's always going to be a problem because, it's like now there's about the Woodland Trust is really good, and there's in June there was 964 ancient woods in this country under threat. So there's always going to be some kind of problem, and people need to get involved just to stop the destruction of our trees, because we've hardly got any left. We're the least forested in Europe in this country, and we're losing more and more because of these big developments that just I mean, there's one up in Craig Dunane where I was looking at that. Hundreds of healthy trees are being cut down to make roads wider for a new housing scheme, and they only really need to knock down 18 really for public safety, but they just get just take over, and it's the same in the world, same in Oxford. There's thousands of houses being developed, developers, and not looking after the mature trees that we have. It's the same problem all over the world, but I'm concerned with our country and what we can do.
Definitely. Just as another question, what about the reaction of some of your fellow artists? Are they really supportive of what you're doing?
I think so. I mean, I think some of the Christian artists have been, or hymn writers, songwriters have been quite struck by it, and they say we need more songs like this. That actually speak of issues that are coming up, and especially environmental issues that we have at this moment. So it's been quite a favourable feedback that we had from the song.
Excellent. Now, woodlands are communities really in themselves. What would you say to communities, governments, companies around the world and beyond to realise that woodlands and forests are much more than a commodity? They're a life support system, a resource which impacts humans on just so many levels.
I mean, it's just this thing. I think things, you can turn things around, and I think this pressure that is being put on companies is good, but to turn a tank around takes like 2 miles, doesn't it? To stop it and turn it around, it's very slow. But I think that the issue is in some ways that personally we need to be careful about what we, how we live and what we consume, because big companies just say, well, people need this stuff and we're providing it, and it's all justifiable. So in some ways, if we can cut back on some things and sacrifice some things, that would really help. But I think I think just keep working out, especially with your local areas, and where you can do what you can. I don't think I just think this thing of exploiting the earth and just ripping apart and digging it and just logging and all this stuff, and some ways it's just going to, it's like in the song, it's just going to run out at some point. Then we're in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how has this passion for trees and woodlands impacted your faith and musical career, would you say?
Well, I think it's one of many things. I mean, I'm concerned about humanity being turned around and coming back into ways that are different, because we're all our human nature is really that, like I said, the selfishness, the greed, and the apathy kind of thing. And the disregard of the fact that there is a God, and that there are different ways to live that are more healthy and wholesome than the way that we live at the moment. And so, I think the gospel is this wonderful, wonderful message that we have. And so I keep working at that, and just bring it into prisons. We go into prisons a lot, and also do concerts and things like that. So I write songs and speak about Jesus to people as wherever I can.
Excellent. Well, would you come on again, Bryn, and just talk more, perhaps even about your faith and how you speak to prisoners and such like?
Yes, definitely. Fine.
Well, that would be really great, and in fact give us an update on how My Tree Matters is doing, perhaps in the next 6 months or so.
I think so, yeah. It could be a while before we find out what the situation with this developing, with the developers that we have here. Hopefully it'll be turned down.
Hopefully it will be. There's a good organisation to get in contact with, Bryn, and that is Arocha. Have you heard of it?
How do you spell that?
Arocha. They originally started off in Portugal. But they're in the UK in London, so it's Arocha UK, and they have very much all the things that you have been describing very much at their heart, and they have they used to certainly have a nature reserve in London as well.
Okay.
So you might want to get in touch with them, look them up, and they are there, and I'll make that available on our website as well. Now, people listening to this may want to know how to get involved, or certainly know more. How can they do this?
Well, particularly with the trees issues, just go to www.mytreematters.com, and like I said, there's lots of useful information there about different organizations that can help you look after your trees.
Excellent. Well, for the moment, Bryn Haworth, can I thank you very much for coming on? It's been a great pleasure, and looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you so much. Thank you.